Today we're playing Magmakin Artillerist along with Chitin Gravestalker from the latest Magic the Gathering set, Aetherdrift and Pauper Cycle Storm. Let's go check it out. This video is proudly sponsored by Card Market. What is good, Cycle Storm fans? I am Bryant Cook, and today we're playing some brand new cards from Aetherdrift, the latest Magic the Gathering set, and I think it's going to be a blast. But before we get into these brand new cards, let's talk about a few minor changes to the deck list. Last week I played Kai's deck list, who insists on playing 11 lands with only 3 copies of Great Furnace. I was skeptical, because I was like, well, you're increasing the number of hands that you have without a single land in it, which increases your mulligan rate. I don't know if it's worth it. So I ended up doing the math. Like, Kai's was just like, I think that it feels better when I play it, so it makes sense to me. Well, I wanted to know mathematically, does it make sense? And you have 3% less odds of finding an opening land in your hand. And I was like, okay, 3% is not very large, but when you cut a land out of the deck, when you're trying to draw your entire deck in one turn, it increases your consistency and you're more likely to convert those combo turns into wins. So I've been liking it. I've played it in a few leagues now, and it's just been great. So I am down to continue trying 11 lands. So instead of that 11th land, we've moved the 4th Cabal Ritual back into the main deck, along with the Reaping the Graves. So the 11th land became Cabal, or I'm sorry, the 12th land became Cabal Ritual, and then Reaping the Graves was added in over Mystical Teachings, just because there's so much main deck graveyard hate right now, with Nile Spellbombs and Thraben Charms and stuff like that, where you need double Reaping the Graves to beat those cards. So we're playing 4 copies in the main deck now. And I am back to playing 2 copies of Rowan's Grim Search. I was down to 1 for a little bit, and now we're back up to 2. But this card is just so important with filling your graveyard on the combo turns that I really like having the second copy. So those are the main deck changes that aren't the brand new cards today. So the brand new cards are Magmakin Artillerist. For 2 and a red, you get a 1/4 Elemental Pirate that whenever you discard or cycle a card, it deals 1. And you can cycle it for 1 and a red, and when you cycle it, it deals 1 to each opponent. So when this card was first previewed, people are like, you don't need more copies of Draenei Stinger, and all I can think of is like the Vince McMahon meme or the brain exploding meme, where it gets better and better the more you think about it, or in Vince McMahon's case, falling out of his chair. So they're like, I don't think you need more copies of Draenei Stinger. And they're like, oh, it only cycles for red, it doesn't cycle for black. I think that's not how you want to be thinking about this card, and that's limited thinking in my opinion. So why is this card good, and why am I playing it today? Well, it's actually worded differently than Draenei Stinger. This says whenever you cycle another card. Magmakin Artillerist says whenever you discard a card. Okay, they're slightly different. Well, cycling is discarding. Discarding is not necessarily cycling. And that means that with things like Tolarian Winds, you could discard 12 cards at once and deal your opponent 12 damage. We're not playing Tolarian Winds today, but there is a built-in discard into Magic the Gathering called the Cleanup Step. So you can play Reaping the Graves, return 15 to 20 creatures, and by the way, our deck has a lot of creatures in it, to your hand, and then go to the Cleanup Step, which is the last thing before the turn would end. So when that happens, you can naturally just discard a bunch of cards and deal your opponent damage that way. But here's the cool part, okay? So when you discard that way, you gain priority again. So you could play Dark Ritual and then another copy of Reaping the Graves. You cannot pass the turn with more than 7 cards in your hand. So Magic the Gathering actually adds in another cleanup step. So that way you can discard those cards back down to 7 again, meaning that you get multiple cleanup steps and you can win with Magmakin Artillerist this way. If you don't believe me, I've consulted a level 5 judge. Yes, I know a level 5 judge, I'm not just lying about it. And they've confirmed that this is how it works. Okay, so why is this so good? Why do you want to go to your cleanup step instead of just cycling to win? Well, it takes a lot of pressure off of Songs of the Damned, because now you don't need 20 mana to cycle through your deck in order to win. Because now you can just win with a Magmakin Artillerist, a Dark Ritual, and a Reaping the Graves. That's pretty interesting, because now you've just reduced the amount of mana you need to win, which means that it can be more efficient than a Draenei Stinger. Okay, well that means that it's fairly good, and here's where it gets even better. This beats a Prismatic Strands. Okay, so let's say you're in the middle of your combo turn, you play a Draenei Stinger. Your opponent in response plays Prismatic Strands from hand. Okay. Well, now you can play Magmakin Artillerist and go to cleanup. The way that cleanup works is it gets rid of everything that would take effect until end of turn. So now the Prismatic Strands is no longer active, and you can discard cards and ping your opponent. But they cast the Prismatic Strands from hand, which means that they can now flash it back. Okay, well, they now have to flash it back on the same turn, which means you could win next turn. Or if you go Dark Ritual Reaping the Graves back up to a full hand size, and then it creates another cleanup step that actually wears off the previous Prismatic Strands. So even if they've played 2 Prismatic Strands that turn, this new cleanup step will now kill them. So it naturally beats Prismatic Strands. You no longer have to play Flaring Pain. And I can't believe the rules work this way, but they really do. And I think just playing a single copy of Magmakin Artillerist will get you a very far way. And you might be saying, well, who plays Prismatic Strands? Well, it's a 4 of in the mono white weenie deck, along with Thraben Charm. So in my recent 5-0 that I posted to this very YouTube channel, I actually faced the mono white deck twice. And I beat them through a Prismatic Strands, but it was incredibly difficult. Or now it's going to be pretty easy with Magmakin Artillerist, so I'm looking forward to that. I truly think that this card is a much better upgrade for Pauper Cycle Storm than people think. The other upgrade is actually in the sideboard with the Chitin Gravestalker. So I am aware that I posted a YouTube short to this channel where I mispronounced its name. I didn't know any better. There was one jerk, though, that was like, Bryant should know better. Bryant should know how to pronounce this. I'm just a guy doing my best here. I'm a web developer. I am not a linguist, so please forgive me. I promise that I try to make great content, but if I say a word wrong, don't be a jerk about it. I'm just going to block you. But we are now playing Chitin Gravestalker, which costs 1 less for each artifact and creature in your graveyard. So it's similar to a Writhing Necromass, but it also cycles for 2. Wow, so you have a Writhing Necromass that now cycles. We like that quite a bit, because now you don't have to water down your deck in order to pivot into a beatdown plan. You can actually just board out other cyclers for this card, which is something we haven't been able to do in the past. Before, when you sided in something like Writhing Necromass, you would have to board out the other spells, like a Rowan's Grim Search, because you can't take out cyclers. Well, now you can. And I think that means that this is a much better pivot than any previous plan we've had in the past. So that's good. We have another change in the sideboard. I'm back to playing Blood Celebrant. Admittedly, I'm sort of a Blood Celebrant hater. I just don't love playing the card anymore. I mean, it was a card that I played a lot a few years ago. So it's pay 1 life and a black mana to create a mana of any color. But why would I want to cut this? The idea is that you want as few stops as possible in the deck. Like, you don't want to draw cards that are going to make you fizzle. The good thing about Blood Celebrant is that it means that you can play as many colored spells like Drannith Stinger, Ardent Elementalist, Magmakin Artillerist, or Drannith Healer as you need. And that's interesting, because if you're trying to beat a Weather the Storm, being able to play out 5 pingers and then just ping 5 damage for each cycle allows you to beat 120 or so life, which means that it's probably better than the Duress I was playing previously. Another thing I really like about it is now, with the 2 basics in the sideboard, you can board these in against the Cleansing Wildfire decks, but against blue decks, you can also just board out all 4 copies of Lotus Petal, and then bring in Blood Celebrant in your 2 lands, boarding up to 13 lands, so that way you're more stable against blue decks, and you don't have to worry about being cut off colors, because you have the Blood Celebrant. So I am liking that change, and if you're interested in a sideboard guide, I do have one over at theepicstorm.com/shop. It will also be in the comment section down below. In fact, I'll also put it in the description. So I've already updated the sideboard guide for this very deck list today. Go to theepicstorm.com/shop and support us by purchasing one if you're interested in this deck list. That is my long-winded deck tech today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so excited to play these Aetherdrift cards today. And without any further ado, let's go win some games with Magmakin Artillerist. I'll see you in the first match. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to match number 1. We are on the draw and I will keep this hand. And while we begin, I have a confession for you. I've actually already played a match number 1, but I accidentally didn't hit record and I noticed it towards the end of game number 3. So I dropped the league. We're now back in the league and hopefully that doesn't happen to me again. I'll try to be better about making sure that I hit record. Our opponent plays a bridge. This likely tells me that they're on the Jund Wildfires deck that happens to have a ton of land destruction. I shouldn't say that. They have 4 Cleansing Wildfire, but I'm not playing any basics in my main deck. So it makes me a little nervous here, but I have a reasonable hand. They play a Vault of Whispers, Ichor Wellspring. Sure. And some of you watching might have gone like, Bryant, why don't you play turn 1 Horror of the Broken Lands? I'm aware that's a play you can make. I just think that it's wrong. Just because you're really looking to combo win. Like, they have so much removal that I think it's almost a trap to try to beat them down. Like, you would have wasted 2 Dark Rituals and a card that digs you slightly deeper. I don't want to do that. So we're not going to. Instead, I'm just going to focus on being the best combo deck I can. They Deadly Dispute the Ichor Wellspring, so they'll draw 3 cards here, and they get a treasure. They can also play a land still. A Tree of Tales. Main deck Nile Spellbomb. Yep. So we can beat that. I just need to find another Reaping the Graves. Let's cycle Street Wraith. Play a Vault of Whispers. And we'll pass. And part of the reason I'm playing 2 Reaping the Graves today is specifically for these people with main deck Nile Spellbomb. Refurbish Familiar. I will cycle Street Wraith. See if there's something I'd like to discard a little bit more. Cycle Street Wraith again. I'm at 14. Okay, and now we will discard the Ardent Elementalist. 6 cards in the graveyard. Does the opponent bite on Nile Spellbomb? No. Okay. We will play Great Furnace and pass the turn. They play a bridge. Refurbish Familiar hits. We'll go to 12. Okay. We need to draw something, and something is not a Lotus Petal. We will pass. They play an Insight, sacrificing a Tree of Tales. Galvanic Blast, I go to 8. I could be close to dead if I don't draw something. Uh-oh, another Galvanic Blast. That's puts me to 4. I'm dead to a 3rd. Tree of Tales. They swing for 2. I'll go to 2 life. Another Refurbish Familiar. Discard Lotus Petal. Mirror Enforcer. Okay. So are you Affinity and not the Jund Wildfire deck? I think that's what that might mean. I'm going to try a Threshold Cabal Ritual here to see if they bite on the Nile Spellbomb. They don't. We'll cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. And we hit the Reaping the Graves. Let's go. Alright, so I'm going to try a Songs of the Damned here to see if I can get them to bite on this Nile Spellbomb. They use the Spellbomb. I'm going to respond. Cabal Ritual. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. And now we will Reaping the Graves for 6. Return Ardent Elementalist. And I have to leave 2 creatures, so I'm going to end up leaving a couple Street Wraiths. I'm at 2 anyway, so it's not the end of the world. I'll return 1 Street Wraith. Our opponent's responding here. Not exactly sure what they're doing, but they're tapping and untapping mana. So they could have like another Deadly Dispute effect, and they're going to dig for a Galvanic Blast, maybe. So now the Nile Spellbomb, they did draw, and now they exile my graveyard. Songs of the Damned is still on the stack. Now we would like to cycle and fill up our graveyard full of triggers, or full of creatures before this would resolve. And drawing the Lotus Petal is interesting because that allows me to cycle the Drannith Healer later. Or I'm sorry, to cast the Drannith Healer later, and then start cycling in order to gain life, which will unlock Street Wraith and other things like that. So it's interesting. We'll cycle here. I can't even play Rowan's Grim Search. I don't have enough life. Cycle the healer. cycle Horror of the Broken Lands, and Songs for 6, now resolves. We'll play Dark Ritual, play out a couple copies of Lotus Petal, and now I'll Reaping the Graves, get back my graveyard. So I have 5 total mana here. I'll see what I can do, but being on low mana and low life total was not good for me this game, because I was not able to take advantage of my triple Street Wraith opener. We'll play a Drannith Healer here, looking to gain some life. Cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands. This puts me up to 3. Dark Ritual, that's good. Cycle the Street Wraith. So I will gain 1, and then we'll draw. Another Rowan's Grim Search. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Deadly Dispute. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Another Deadly Dispute. So I could play a Grim Search, and that would dig pretty deep for more rituals, which might be the move here. Songs of the Damned has 4 creatures in the graveyard right now. I think I'm going to play Rowan's Grim Search, because Ardent Elementalist into Songs of the Damned is negative mana. We don't want any of these. We're going to just say no. And I drew a land and a healer. So I got to skip 4 cycles there because I didn't actually have to pay mana. So now we'll cycle a healer. Really low on mana, though. I'm up to 3. I think it's actually better odds for Deadly Dispute right now, so I'm going to Deadly Dispute. We find Cabal Ritual. That was good. So now I can play the Cabal Ritual with Threshold. Deadly Dispute. Get rid of a Vault of Whispers. We find more Reaping the Graves, but I need more mana. So, and I'm 1 mana short of Ardent Elementalist into Songs of the Damned. I'm going to cycle. I could Rowan's again, but then I lose the red. So I'm hoping I find a Dark Ritual or Cabal Ritual. And there we go. I spiked another Songs. So I think we probably have this now. I'm up to 5. We'll play Songs of the Damned. Cycle Stinger. Okay. I could cycle Street Wraith, Cabal Ritual. I'm pretty close to a Magmakin Artillerist win here. Or at least I think I am. 12 creatures in graveyard. I'm going to Rowan's Grim Search. Sacrifice the Vault of Whispers. We don't want any of that. Cycle a healer. Deadly Dispute. Okay, I'm at 4. I'm going to Deadly Dispute plays into a removal spell. Or, I'm sorry. The Magmakin Artillerist win plays into a removal spell here. So I don't think that's something I'm actually interested in. We'll cycle Stinger. If our opponent was tapped out, the Magmakin win would end up being best. We'll play Ardent Elementalist. 7 cards left in deck. Get back Songs of the Damned. Deadly Dispute. Get rid of the Ardent Elementalist. Play Songs. Deadly Dispute away the healer. Play Songs. Play out the Lotus Petal. Play Songs. And now we'll Reaping the Graves, bring everyone home. Okay, so you might have been saying, Bryant, I really wish you would have gone for the Magmakin Artillerist win. I understand, I want to use the new card too. But you shouldn't use the new card just because you can in situations where you're setting it up to possibly be a failure, which is my point here. Because with our opponent having a green plus a treasure open, if for some reason they have like a main deck cast down or something like that, you could end up being punished. Why would I want to do that to myself? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I am instead trying to set myself up in a position where I don't lose to a removal spell, because ultimately I just care about winning. I don't want to play something and then possibly lose because I decided to be lazy. We'll play a Stinger, play Stinger, play Stinger. And now I'm going to turn off auto yield so that way I don't accidentally draw my deck, because I don't need to draw cards to win at this point. So we'll draw 1 because I'm allowed to. We'll cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands. This will leave me with 1 card left in deck. And now we'll draw the final card. And then after that, we won't draw anymore. Okay, we're done drawing cards. We're only winning now. Okay. And you don't have to draw cards. Like, you can leave this cycling on the stack and just keep cycling, and your opponent will lose the game. Because the Drannith Stinger triggers resolve before the draw trigger does, and you just never resolve the draw trigger because you keep on cycling. Get in that good cardio. We won game number 1 versus a Nile Spellbomb. How about that? And now we'll bring in Siege Smash, take out Rowan's Grim Search, and we'll resubmit. Game number 2, we've opened up a great hand. I will gladly keep this. They play Vault of Whispers and pass. Street Wraith, a good draw. Like, this could end up being a hand where we go for it on turn 3. Depends on what we draw into, but I'm just throwing it out there that this could be a fairly explosive draw. Refurbish Familiar. Yep, we'll cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Street Wraith. Here we go. We draw another Deadly Dispute. I think you're supposed to get rid of a healer here. Vault of Whispers. Play a Lotus Petal. And I think I'm just going to get rid of the Lotus Petal immediately. And that is what I'm going to do. Perfect. So why would I Deadly Dispute on my main phase? That might seem a little bit odd, but these affinity decks sometimes, granted, I know that our opponent showed us a bunch of green in game 1, but they're sometimes known to play counter spells out of the sideboard, and I just don't want to allow myself to potentially get blown out when I don't have to. Tree of Tales, and the main deck Nile Spellbomb, or it could be sideboard, but they play 2 in the main deck. So we have to beat the Nile Spellbomb again. I did board in a few copies of Siege Smash, so we have access to those. We'll play Great Furnace, and just pass the turn. I suppose I could, again, just Deadly Dispute now. There's no harm. Get rid of the treasure token. Pass. A Refurbished Familiar. I will cycle Barrenmore in response, and I draw another. We'll discard the other Barrenmore. I'm not trying to put too many creatures in my graveyard when they have a Nile Spellbomb. You draw Dark Ritual. I will just pass the turn. They swing. This will put me to 10. End step. Let's cycle a Monstrous Carabid. This will be my 4th creature in the graveyard. We draw a Lotus Petal. I'll cycle another Monstrous Carabid. And then we'll go to my turn. Okay, that worked. Reaping the Graves. We have 5 creatures in the graveyard. So I could try to go for it. My concern is if I don't draw another Reaping or I don't draw into Siege Smash. But if I pass, they attack me down to 6. And if they have double Gav Blast, I'm dead. So maybe I am supposed to go for it here. We'll play Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Cycle the Street Wraith. This will put me at 8. Deadly Dispute. Cycle Drannith Healer. Play the Great Furnace. Cycle a Healer. Ardent Elementalist. Let's Deadly Dispute. Sacrifice Great Furnace. We drew the Siege Smash. Perfect. Destroy your Spellbomb. Let's go. Let's go! And now the trigger from Nile Spellbomb. We'll play Songs of the Damned. Now we'll play Ardent Elementalist. This will get back Songs of the Damned. We'll play it. And Reaping the Graves. Return Street Wraith. And honestly, it doesn't matter because I think I'm going to end up playing out a Street Wraith here. I'm sorry, playing out a Drannith Healer here and not cycling with it on the stack. Because if I double cycle Street Wraith, I'm dead to Galvanic Blast. I don't want that to happen. So instead, I'm going to play out a healer and just gain some life and really build up some room so that way I can dig deeper with my Street Wraiths. Like, the cost of playing out a healer, I feel like, is pretty low at this point. So that's what I'm going to do. Like, don't allow yourself to get choked on mana or resources when playing out a healer is essentially free, because you'll be able to cycle these Street Wraiths more and more throughout this turn. And if you fizzle, you're going to be at a high life total. So that is my thought philosophy here. Okay, cycle. Another Cabal Ritual, that's good. There's also the possibility our opponent has a Weather the Storm, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that, but we can just win through it. There's a Stinger. I don't know if I want to play that out yet, just because I have to find another Reaping the Graves. Okay, just keep cycling. Artillerist. Cycle the Vantasaur. And there's a Reaping the Graves, so I'm still kind of choked on mana, though, so I'm going to just keep cycling for now. See if I can hit another Songs of the Damned or something. There we go. I should just talk more cards into existence. We'll cycle the Stinger, I think. I'm just, in my head right now, I'm trying to figure out how I want to best beat a copy of Weather the Storm. We'll cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Play Cabal Ritual. Cycle Adranus Stinger. Because they have to be playing green for a reason, right? Like, we actually haven't seen the reason why they're playing it. Play Songs of the Damned. And now we'll play Reaping the Graves. This could end up being a game where the Magmakin Artillerist also ends up being useful. We'll see. Alright, the last copy of Reaping the Graves. And then I'm going to play the Magmakin Artillerist. We'll sacrifice this for a red. We'll play Artillerist. See if they respond with a Weather the Storm. And it looks like they're going to. I am so terribly surprised. I did not see this coming. Wow. Alright. So this is a great spot, in my opinion, for showcasing Magmakin Artillerist. Because even if we end up playing out some stingers to deal a little bit more damage, this could also be a great game at showing how the discard cleanup step can deal more damage. But first we need to get there. Cycle a Street Wraith, Cabal Ritual. We'll hang on to that for now. Cycle a Monstrous Carabid, and we can deal 70 plus damage. I'm not worried about that. There's a Lotus Petal, that's good. We'll play out the Petal, play out a Stinger, cycle the Monstrous Carabid. Alright. Another Songs of the Damned. So I have 2 Reaping the Graves left in the deck. We'll cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. I wouldn't mind a Deadly Dispute to get rid of this healer, just so there's one less trigger. There we go. Get rid of the healer. Just one less trigger to click on. Let's play the Stinger. We'll play Cabal Ritual. I want to sit on the Songs of the Damned, though. We might need that for the cleanup step. So they'll take 3. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. Another Stinger. Cycle Carabid. They're at 54. Cycle Vantasaur. Okay, we'll cycle Adranith Healer. So in order for the cleanup step thing to work, you usually want like a leftover Lotus Petal. We have the Songs of the Damned already. We just found the Reaping the Graves. So if I could find the last Lotus Petal or a treasure token, and then the other Reaping the Graves, we should be golden. Okay, we'll cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Another Cabal Ritual. We'll cycle Barrenmoor. Play Cabal Ritual. Cycle this Horror of the Broken Lands. 5 cards left in deck. Siege Smash. Cycle Stinger. This will bring us down to 3. There's the other Reaping. So if we want to do this, I have to hit Deadly Dispute or Lotus Petal off this final cycle. Because that's how I would do it. We had another song. So I just have mana to win the old-fashioned way, which is not as exciting, but it's the right thing to do. And now we'll return all of the creatures. I have 5 minutes to deal them 27, which is plenty of time. Alright, so I've selected all of our creatures. We're going to return them. We have 2 cards left in our deck. Like, it would have been cool to do the Magmakin Artillerist end step trick here. But I didn't. So, like, the bottom 2 cards in my deck, one of them is definitely a Lotus Petal. Which is unfortunate, because that means that I couldn't do the cool trick. But it's not the end of the world. So I'm allowed to cycle once, and that will get us to the second card, which was a Barrenmoor. And now I'll cycle the Barrenmoor. And then I have to turn off my auto yields, because I don't want to accidentally deck myself. So this is the final card, which is in fact the Lotus Petal. We'll play it. And now I will play another copy of Draenith Stinger. Turn off my auto yields. And now we'll cycle. So the triggers are now on the stack. I can now re-auto yield to the Stinger triggers and the Magmakin Artillerist, but we do not want to draw. We have no deck left, so you do not want to draw a card. That is how you accidentally lose the game. Okay. I think one of my new goals, by the way, is I always think of like the Danny DeVito meme of like, and so anyway, and then I started blasting. Yeah, but now you can do that 5 times. So I need to find another way to get the 5th Draenith Stinger onto the table. Alright, just keep cycling. And one more. Pew pew! Well, that was sweet. We beat John Definity in match number 1. Stick around and watch match number 2. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. I am truly the worst. I did not hit record again. I just looked over. I was not recording. Thankfully, you haven't missed much. I played a turn 1 Barrymore on the play. They played a Twisted Landscape. Turn 2, I cycled 2 creatures, did not hit my second land. They searched out a swamp, played Duress, take my Reaping the Graves, and now you're updated. I will try to be better. I don't know how this keeps on happening to me. We'll cycle the Monstrous Carabid, looking for that land. They use the Twisted Landscape. We did not draw the land. I will pass. Blood Fountain. Okay. If they are in fact Brood-Scale combo, which they didn't grab a forest there, and most Brood-Scale decks aren't playing Blood Fountain, so I'm not sure that they actually are in fact Brood-Scale combo. We drew another Reaping the Graves. I mean, this might be a turn where I go for it. Let's play Dark Ritual. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. That gives me Threshold. We could play Cabal Ritual. Cycle Drainous Stinger. Cycle Street. I'd love an artifact land here for this Rowan's Grim Search. There we go. Alright, still recording. Starting to get paranoid now because I feel like I am in fact clicking the button, but it's just not listening to me. We don't want any of this, so I'm just going to click OK. We'll draw 2 random cards. Wow. Talk about perfects. Let's go. Songs of the Damned. Songs of the Damned. Play Reaping the Graves. Bring our friends back. So I end up having to leave 1 creature here. Okay. I'm just going to bring everyone back. Apparently I accidentally left Street Wraith. I thought I had clicked that. Whoops. That's my bad. We'll play out a Stinger. So they could have Snuff Out here, but I'm not overly concerned with Snuff Out. We could probably win in response. Cycle Street Wraith down to 12. And it looks like they have F6, so I don't think that they even have a Snuff Out. Deadly Dispute, Cabal Ritual. See if they respond here. No. Yeah, they've just full on F6. And if they do have a Snuff Out, I can Deadly Dispute the Stinger for the treasure for Deadly Dispute to play another Stinger. Artillerist, we'll cycle the Stinger. Cycle the Barrymore. Cycle Stinger. I have 11 mana floating. Play out a Lotus Petal. We'll Reaping the Graves. This time it should be enough to bring home everyone. I suppose this could just be the Jund Wildfires deck. It's just we didn't see any artifact lands, which is a little strange. But it's entirely possible it is the Jund Wildfires deck. But if it is Jund Wildfires, why did they not grab a non-swamp land? Like, why would you grab double swamp? We'll just keep cycling. Okay. Sweet. So I'm not really sure what they're playing. If it is Jund Wildfires, we want the basics. Just because they have Cleansing Wildfire, I don't want to get blown out. So I think we're going to board out Lotus Petals. And this is a nice plan of bringing in the Blood Celebrant and lands, just being more consistent. And then that allows you a Siege Smash. The question is, do you want Rowan's Grim Search? It's a card that I do really like. Alright, I think I'm just going to try this for now. I can always change it if we lose game number 2. No lands. We will take a mulligan. Keep this. So if you bottom Reaping the Graves, there's no way to shuffle the deck. So I'm not sure if I'm crazy about that. I think it's probably the Rowan's Grim Search. Playing a list where there's no shuffle effect, I have found myself mulliganing slightly differently. And they are in fact the Jund Wildfires deck. We'll play Barrymore past the turn. They have a swamp. They Cleansing Wildfire on themselves. Not me. There are some people that play this deck that immediately go after my land, so it's always interesting to see what route they take. Songs of the Damned was a good draw. Okay, so feeling good about my hand right now. They have land number 4. Duress. So likely taking my Reaping the Graves. They go after Songs of the Damned this time. Okay, sure. They play Lembas. On the end step, I will cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands. We draw Deadly Dispute. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Stinger. Cycle Street Wraith, looking for that land. We don't find it. Cycle Stinger. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Okay, pass. And it looks like our opponent made the right call on Reaping the Graves versus Songs of the Damned this game, just because I drew another Reaping. You know, if I ended up drawing another Songs, I might have said the opposite. It's just like based on how this played out, mana is a little more important. They play a Writhing Chrysalis, sure. They have 4 cards remaining in their hand. I'll cycle a Dryaneth Healer. We find Vault of Whispers. I'll play that and pass the turn. Yeah, I think I want to pass. So I'm thinking to myself, like, I could try to jam, but I have next to no mana, and I know that one of the cards in my graveyard is one of my 3 Songs of the Damned. So I'd have to draw particularly well in order to trying to keep winning, if that makes any sense. So they sacrifice Lembas to Deadly Dispute on the end step. Their Writhing Chrysalis will get a little bit bigger. They get to create a treasure token. They play Ichor Wellspring. I have to imagine they're trying to dig for a Nile Spellbomb this turn, if they haven't already found one. Refurbish Familiar. I will cycle Barrenmoor. I'm just going to discard this Monstrous Carabid rather than cycling it. This way I could leave open Dark Ritual, Reaping the Graves if they happen to have a Nile Spellbomb. Okay, so they don't do anything else. We'll draw Songs of the Damned. I think that's a go-ahead, so we'll see what I can do. We do have to worry about Weather the Storm, but I boarded in Blood Celebrant, which means that we can play a large number of creatures eventually. Deadly Dispute. I like the Elementalist draw there, because that can get back a Songs of the Damned. Cycle the Healer. Cycle the Barrenmoor. Dark Ritual. We'll play Songs of the Damned. And now we'll play Ardent Elementalist, which also increases my storm count. So we only have 6 spells right now. Ardent Elementalist is +2. The Elementalist itself plus Songs of the Damned while making mana. And now Reaping the Graves will end up leaving 1 creature in the graveyard. And I'm not going to cycle with this on the stack because I have plenty of mana. What I would like to do is play a Stinger and draw out the Weather of the Storm so I can just start winning the game. Because if they Weather the Storm for 27, I don't really care. Like, 50 life isn't that much. We'll play out a Stinger. So now the question is, do they cast the Weather the Storm? They don't. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can punish them now. Cycle. Some people think that they're clever and they hold it for later. And you can really punish them for that. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Cycle a Street Wraith. Another Stinger. Okay. Siege Smash. Doesn't help me here. Okay, we're just going to keep cycling. I've used 2 Songs of the Damned. I have 1 in my hand. There's the other. So if I could find the 4th Reaping the Graves... Wait, hold on. 3rd Reaping the Graves, we could beat a Weather the Storm very easily. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Deadly Dispute, not bad. Cycle this Imposing Vantasaur. Blood Celebrant, I like that. Cycle the Healer. Play out the Vault of Whispers. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. They're at 9. Cycle Street Wraith. Another Street Wraith, so now they go to 7. Another Stinger. We'll cycle. So now they're at 6. I might be able to win without even cycling at this point. Let's try Songs of the Damned for 15, see if they respond to this. They do not. I will Deadly Dispute, sacrificing Vault of Whispers. Rowan's Grim Search. We'll cycle Barrenmoor. So this puts them to 5. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. They now go to 4. We find the Magmakin Artillerist. I'll play out a Blood Celebrant because this allows me to cycle the Magmakin Artillerist with ease. We'll make a red. I go to 8. Cycle the Magmakin Artillerist, which is kind of nice here because it deals 2. It deals 1 from the Stinger and then 1 from itself. And now the opponent's thinking, like, am I supposed to play Weather the Storm? And I think the real answer is you were supposed to respond to Drain a Stinger, and you're probably going to get punished now. We'll draw off the Magmakin Artillerist cycle. We hit a Stinger. So this will put them to 1. So they're at 1. We drew a land. Okay, I will play Rowan's Grim Search. Sacrifice the Great Furnace. Would you like to respond to this? Looks like the answer is yes. So I will now respond with a Songs of the Damned and Reaping the Graves. Oh, opponent. Okay. So we will return some creatures and then ping them for lethal. Alright, so there's 2 copies of Reaping the Graves left. And I will make another red. And just for the fun of it, we'll cycle the Magmakin Artillerist to win the game. Sweet. Alright, we are now 2-0 in this Pauper League. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Alright, time for the third match. We are on the draw, and I am confirmed that I am recording. It is live. Well, not live, I mean, I just record my matches, but you get the idea. It looks like we're facing MonoRed. Sure. Another Songs of the Damned. Not the worst draw. I will say the Magmakin Artillerist cycling here might be difficult compared to Imposing Vantasaur. I do think that the upside is worth it. Like, being able to beat Flaring Pain or winning with less mana, I think is very important. They exile a Kessig Flame Breather to the Synthesizer. We'll take one. Do you have another land? You don't. We'll cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. I draw a Baron more. You draw another Draenus Stinger. I'm just going to be lazy, and I'm going to double cycle now. Alright, so we have a ton of mana here. What I am lacking is a Reaping the Graves. I would also like a red mana to cycle this Magmakin Artillerist. I feel like that would be good. We'll take 3. I'll go to 15. Another Baron more. We'll cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. I will cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Great Furnace? Let's see it. Another Stinger. I think I'm actually going to discard the Magmakin Artillerist, just because if I discard it, I get mana from Songs of the Damned. We'll see. It ends up biting me in the butt if I don't find a Reaping the Graves. But if I don't find a Reaping the Graves, I'm probably not winning anyway. So if I draw red mana but can't cycle anymore, that's the fear. And there's the red mana. So we will cycle Stinger. Let's play Dark Ritual. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Another Cabal Ritual. Cycle Baron more. Street Wraith puts me to 8. That means that I am dead on board if I don't hit. Let's cycle Street Wraith. Deadly Dispute. I will play Songs of the Damned. And now we will Deadly Dispute a Vault of Whispers. There we go! There we go! All the mana in the world. Play out this Lotus Petal. Songs. Reaping the Graves for 9. Return everyone. Okay, so it might not make sense here, but it's actually best to play out a Magmakin Artillerist just because it cycles for a color. Like your gut might tell you, hey, it's best to play out Double Stinger. It's actually not, because it's more difficult to cycle that way, where if you play out a Stinger, it's easier to cycle. So like 1 and 1, because this cycles for 1 mana. And now we just have to hit 4 more cyclers and we win the game. Okay. Well, there's 1. We'll cycle again. That is not a cycler. We'll cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle the Vantasaur. There's 2. Cycle a Stinger. Vault of Whispers doesn't help me. We'll cycle Draenith Healer. Okay. Baron Moore, that does help me. Cycle Draenith Stinger. And Monstrous Carabid is beautiful. Alright, so our opponent is now at 6. Cycle a Baron more, they'll go to 4. And if they've been paying attention, they know that I'm sitting on double Street Wraith. Cycle the Draenith Healer. And you might be wondering, why haven't I played the Vault of Whispers? That is because if I find a Great Furnace, I could have played another Stinger or this Ardent Elementalist that would get back a Songs of the Damned or a Reaping the Graves to win the game. Okay, and we steal game number 1 from MonoRed. Now we just have to get 1 post-board game. I'll bring in 2 copies of Siege Smash, and I think you're supposed to take out 2 copies of Rowan's Grim Search. Once again, if you're interested in the sideboard guide for this very deck list, it will be in the description and one of the comments down below, but you could also just go to theepicstorm.com/shop, and all of our sideboard guides that we sell are in there. Game number 2, I've opened up a hand that is keepable, but I'm not excited about it. Basically, I have Reaping the Graves, which I like. Like, is a 6-card hand. This is a very good 6. But double Reaping the Graves is a little weird. I have a tap land versus mono red. I don't love that. So basically, I think this hand is a little bit slow, and I wish that one of the Reaping the Graves was a ritual. We'll take one here from the Clockwork Percussionist. We draw Deadly Dispute. I will play the Baron Moore and pass the turn. They swing, we'll go to 18. Kuldotha Rebirth. And they reveal a Ren's Resolve to the Clockwork Percussionist. They missed their second land again. We draw another useless Deadly Dispute. We'll cycle Monstrous Carabid. Looking for land 2 here. We find it. We'll play the we'll play the Vault of Whispers and pass. In my head, I was thinking about the Ren's Resolve that they can play next turn, but said the wrong thing. They play Experimental Synthesizer, still digging for land number 2. They find Fire Blast. Things are not going well for our opponent. I will take 3 down to 15. And they missed on the draw step for the land as well. I'll cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. We draw another Songs of the Damned. I'll cycle Street Wraith looking for that land. Siege Smash. So I could Deadly Dispute my land, but I think I'm supposed to save that for Storm Count, so I'm going to cycle the Carabid here. Cycle Street Wraith down to 11. So I could just destroy their land and then pass and then untap and try to win. I think it's probably the move, because even if they, for some reason, drew a land and were sitting on Relic of Progenitus, they can't activate it. So I believe this is the right move. And now I'll go to 8, and they pass. Alright, it's time to party. Dark Ritual. Deadly Dispute, sacrificing the Vault of Whispers. We draw 2 lands. I will cycle Baron Moore. Lotus Petal. Let's Deadly Dispute again. Sacrifice Raid Furnace. Cycle Street Wraith down to 6. Let's play Dark Ritual. I want to keep some red mana open here. Cycle Stinger. Artillerist. So I have 1 in the graveyard. I think I can cycle this here. Cycle, they'll go to 19. Dark Ritual. It also makes mana when you cycle, so I think that's another reason you should do it. Songs. And Reaping the Graves for 9. I have 8 creatures in graveyard, so this will return everyone. We'll bring everyone home. So playing out Artillerist and Stinger is 5 mana. So I'd have 9 mana left. And I have a bunch of Street Wraiths, so I think we'll probably be okay. I also have this Reaping the Graves to return. Like, we should be fine here. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. I forgot that I have to use a Petal, so I actually had 1 more mana than I said, but oh well. We draw another Petal. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur, and if I draw a Drannith Healer, it actually unlocks the Street Wraiths for the way back. Another Songs. We'll cycle Monstrous Carabid. Vault of Whispers. Cycle Street Wraith down to 4. Cycle Baron Moore. They go to 9. Alright, cycle Street Wraith. And then I cannot cycle another because I'm at 2. Cycle the Baron Moore. They're at 5. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. They're at 3. Play these Songs of the Damned. And now the most important thing is that I don't misclick. Reaping the Graves. We're just going to return all of our friends from the graveyard. I actually drew very few creatures this game. So what you're seeing is that I've drawn over 50% of my library. And we have... How many creatures do I have in hand? 6, 7, 8, 9. I've drawn 9 of my 23 creatures. So I guess it's slightly under. Like, it's not crazy. But I would have expected to have drawn more creatures by now. Cycle. And then we'll cycle again. And we just 2-0'd Kuldotha Red. Also by mana screwing them with a Siege Smash, which I find kind of funny. But we're 3-0. I'm liking the list so far, but we haven't done a whole lot. Like, I've played the Magmakin Artillerist, but we haven't gotten to do any of the cool end-step tricks. And we haven't faced any blue decks, which is where you really want the Chitin Gravestalker. Like, that is what it's here for. You could board it in versus fair decks that aren't blue, but it depends on how you want to approach the matchup. So I haven't boarded in against Jund Wildfires, a deck with tons of removal, but also Galvanic Blast when this thing has 4 toughness. I don't think it's really for the red decks. So I'm going to play the spells, but only in situations where they're meant to be successful. That is my philosophy. So there's 2 matches left. Hopefully we get those. you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. Time for round number 4. We are on the play. We are in fact recording. And I've opened up a fine hand. We will keep this. Like, we have Cyclers, we have Reaping the Graves, we have Cabal Ritual. What I need is black mana. So, keeping that in mind, we have 2 other copies of Great Furnace. We're more likely to draw black mana than anything else. We have Ardent Elementalist, which could come up useful for later with getting back a Songs of the Damned. Great Furnace, pass the turn. They exile Simian Spirit God on my turn to cycle a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Is this one land spy? They grab a Haunted Mire. I might be dead. Oh no. I hope not. They cycle Street Wraith. They play the Haunted Mire. Okay. We'll cycle my Draenei Stinger. I draw a Barrenmoor. There's my black mana. We'll cycle a Draenei Stinger. There's a Vault of Whispers. Cycle Barrenmoor. I just have to hope that they can't kill me, because I'm not anywhere near ready to win. They play Lotus Petal, and it looks like they're passing. We'll play Vault of Whispers. Let's cycle Street Wraith. Cycle the Draenei Stinger. That's 5 cards. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Cycle Street Wraith. So I could try to go for it here. So I could go Dark Ritual, cycle off of the Barrenmoors. Storm is only 3 with Reaping the Graves. So they didn't have what they needed to kill me last turn. I'm going to cycle a Barrenmoor. Alright, please don't kill me. Pretty please do not kill me. They drew a Lotus Petal. Am I dead? Pass the turn. Pass the turn. It looks like I'm dead. They're thinking here. They tapped and untapped. Maybe they don't have it? I mean, I would imagine they were moving pretty quickly that they thought that they had it. And now they're untapping again. Are you just messing with me? Ooh, they passed. Alright, we're going to attempt to win. We draw the Artillerist. We'll play Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Cycle the Barrenmoor. Lotus Petal. Play Cabal Ritual. Storm's currently 5. I could play Ardent Elementalist for negative mana, but plus Storm. I don't know if that's something I want. I'll cycle the Artillerist. They'll take 1. Cycle Stinger. So I'm 33% of the way through my deck, and I was going to say, and I had not found a Songs of the Damned, but that just changed. We'll play the Ardent Elementalist. This will get back Songs of the Damned. Play Songs. Reaping the Graves. Returns the Artillerist first, and then everything else after. So, Street Wraith, and then all of our other cards. And I'm just going to bring everyone back, because I have enough mana where I don't need to cycle with things on the stack. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands, we find a Lotus Petal. And I think I'd like to play out the Artillerist here. Cycle a Draenei Stinger. It's just that Artillerist cycling for red means that it's usually the one you would like to play to deal damage. And my personal opinion is, we haven't got to do the end step thing yet, but that's not why it's in the deck. You can also just win with less mana if you find a Reaping the Graves on low resources, which is helpful. We'll sacrifice the Elementalist. Play our land. Actually, do I want to play the land? I think we'll hold. We'll play a Stinger. Cycle Street Wraith. Because if I draw another Great Furnace, I could play another Stinger. So they'll go to 11. Cycle this, they'll go to 9. Cabal Ritual, that was insane. Alright, so now I'll Deadly Dispute, because I'm not choked on mana anymore. And then I can play another Stinger. Play Lotus Petal. And this is guaranteed lethal. We'll play Stinger. Play the Vault of Whispers. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. Pew pew! Another Songs of the Damned, we'll cycle Carabid. And cycle Healer for lethal. So throughout this league, you might be like, I would play Imposing Vantasaur over the Artillerist. Artillerist has not felt like a detriment to me. Like, it has been a little different than Vantasaur. Like, cycling for 2 is not as ideal, but we're still winning. And I think that's a sign that the upside of this, even though I haven't presented it yet, is worth it, because we're still winning even though it's not the card that would be more efficient, if that makes sense. So I think I want Blood Celebrant and then the Dispels. You could probably cut the Artillerist. And then the question is, like, are the other cards you cut Rowan's Grim Search? Let's try this. Game number 2, our opponent has taken a mulligan. We will keep this. I don't have Dispel, but I'm not going to mulligan for Dispel. Like, this hand is fine. Like, we have land, we have Cycler. I have the blue source if I do draw into Dispel. And they opened up the land, which is good for them. Deadly Dispute. Let's cycle the Imposing Vantasaur. Horror of the Broken Lands will play out Lotus Petal. Shield Sphere. And they pass. Reaping the Graves, I will cycle the Drannith Healer. Cycle Street Wraith. And I did not find a land or Dispel. They just pass. Another Deadly Dispute. We will cycle Drannith Stinger. We'll go to cleanup. And what do I want to get rid of here? I think it's actually a Horror of the Broken Lands, because I could Deadly Dispute away the Blood Celebrant later. They're thinking. Another Shield Sphere. Please don't kill me. And it looks like they passed. So I'm one card short of Threshold here. I will cycle a Drannith Stinger. My. Alright, we have to pass again. Goodbye, Horror of the Broken Lands. So I've seen 25% of my deck. I have not found land number 2 or a Dispel. Uh-oh, they're casting spells. I don't like this. Pulling the Weak. This looks like it's going to be my first game lost this league. Cabal Ritual, so that's 5. Cabal Ritual is 6. So they need one more mana if they're going to go for the... Okay, this just does it. This was actually one extra mana than they needed. They have 25 creatures in the graveyard, so it is lethal. Destroy the evidence. They've got it. They boarded in Haunting Misery. We will concede. I just needed to draw another land, and we could have like tried to go Cabal Ritual into Deadly Dispute into a win, but it did not happen. My next card was Double Songs. Ah, brutal. All right, let's try to win game number 3. Still get a match win. On the play. Think we keep this? It's not exciting. They kept 7. That is terrifying. We'll play Baron Moore and pass. They play Land Grant. They have a Spy. They have Culling the Weak. They have Phyrexian Walker. So, yeah, that's really terrifying. We draw a Vault of Whispers. I'll play the Vault of Whispers and we'll pass. So the best thing that could happen is I find... Ooh, they drew Lotus Petal. They're even closer to winning now. Is I need to find Dispel for this Culling the Weak, like, pretty quickly. We will cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Dark Ritual. Play the Great Furnace. I will pass. They drew Shield Sphere, so they have the win if they go for it. And the only thing I can do is draw into Dispel. They play the Culling the Weak, so this is where I have to do something. We'll cycle the Drannith Healer. There's 2 Dispels in my deck, so I don't know if I love my odds here. Dark Ritual. We'll play Deadly Dispute, sacrificing Great Furnace. This gives me 5 cards for Threshold. Another Street Wraith, okay. We'll cycle. That's 6 cards for Threshold. We draw a land. I will cycle the Drannith Healer. Songs of the Damned. So now I can play the Cabal Ritual for Threshold. And this other Deadly Dispute is going to have to be my blue mana. So we'll Deadly Dispute. If I had gone for it on my turn, I would have hit everything I needed, but I felt like it was a little aggressive. Oh no. That was terrible. Cycle. We'll cycle the Drannith Healer. I have to play Songs. Okay, let's cycle Drannith Healer. I only have 4 mana left. Cycle Stinger. So, it is actually better odds of finding Dispel right now off of Deadly Dispute than it is Reaping the Graves. So I will play Deadly Dispute. And we bricked. If I had gone for it, we could have won, but I felt like my opponent's odds weren't great. And Dispel was not in the top, like, 35% of my deck. They drew Cabal Ritual. Yeah, they definitely have it. That's a bummer. They target themselves. So you might be saying, Bryant, you could have still have tried to dig deeper. The issue is, I have to sacrifice the treasure token, and then I have no way at instant speed of casting another Deadly Dispute or Lotus Petal. Because I can't play a land, I can't do anything else. So I had no way of being able to Deadly Dispute into the Dispel. And that'll do. So we lose the match to One Land Spy. Unfortunate. Sometimes that's how it plays out, but let's just try to keep our chin up and win match number 5. I will see you there. Want early access to articles at theepicstorm.com? Become a member of our Patreon to get articles 7 days early, on top of other sweet benefits, and help us pay our website team. You can sign up at patreon.com/theepicstorm. Alright, the final match. We are on the draw. I will keep my hand. I have no idea what our opponent is playing. Basic Forest. Abundant Growth. So this is Gruul Ramp? It could be Bogles. Barrenmoor. I'll pass the turn. So we didn't really get any matchups this league for the Chitin Gravestalker that is on our sideboard. That is really there for blue decks. I didn't face any blue decks today, so that is not a card I am likely to be siding in this match. And it is in fact Bogles. Okay. So I think in the previous match I could have gone for it on my turn 3. But we also drew perfects that would have allowed me to go, where I feel like you shouldn't expect to draw perfects. So there's going to be some people that are like, well, you should have went for it on your turn. And maybe they're right, but I also feel like it's pretty aggressive to do that and then just like blow all of your resources. So I think in hindsight, I would probably do the same thing, but it didn't end up working out. We will pass the turn. 4 creatures in graveyard. I'm at 18. They have a Rancor, so their creature is now a 4/2 trample. Another copy of Sentinel's Eye, so now it's a 5/3 trample, Vigilance. So I will go to 13. And we need to try to win. I will start with a very sad Songs of the Damned for just 4. We'll then cycle a Horror of the Broken Lands into a Lotus Petal. Cycle Barrenmoor. This gives me Threshold. We can play Cabal Ritual. Play the Great Furnace, cast Deadly Dispute, sacrifice Great Furnace, and now we will Rowan's Grim Search with Bargain, sacrifice the Vault of Whispers. We don't want any of this, so we'll just click OK. And this Rowan's Grim Search was essentially free because it put 3 creatures to the graveyard when I have a Songs of the Damned. We'll play Cabal Ritual, cycle Draenus Stinger. We draw Dark Ritual, play Songs of the Damned, and now we'll play Reaping the Graves. Return the Stinger, and I believe we get everyone back here. So if I play out both of my Stingers and then start cycling, I'll have 9 mana left with a bunch of cyclers in hand. So I believe you are supposed to just try to win here. Stinger number 1, and then Stinger number 2. And I have a Street Wraith too, which means that all I have to do is hit other cyclers here and it's guaranteed lethal. Okay. Bogles. It's a deck I haven't faced in a while. But one thing about Cycle Storm is it's pretty good at racing. In fact, like our One Land Spy opponent had a few turn 3 wins. Like Cycle Storm is also a very good turn 3 deck. It's just my draws in those games didn't allow me to, which is unfortunate, but you know, that happens sometimes. Just keep cycling. Our opponent's at 6. Cycle the Drannith Healer. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. In fact, like the league where I went 5-0 the other night where I was recording off camera, and if you want to see that deck list, it's in the post section of this YouTube channel, but it was pre-Aetherdrift. I faced mono white twice, which would have been incredible in this video, but it just did not happen today. Because I want to showcase the Magmakin Artillerist, it's just, I didn't get the matchups for it. Versus Bogles, I don't believe you're even supposed to sideboard. You're just a racing matchup, so let's just race. Game number 2, we're on the draw. This hand is quite good. We will keep. They play a fetch land, the Sheltering Landscape. They grab a basic forest. Not really the opener that this deck would like. We'll play Vault of Whispers, pass the turn. Basic Plains, and Slippery Bogle. Ethereal Armor, so it's a 2/2. On the end step, we'll cycle Monstrous Carabid into a Barrenmoor. We'll play Great Furnace, pass. So we are short on creatures right now. 2 mana for an Abundant Growth. Okay. They have a white mana floating. For another Ethereal Armor. So if next turn they just play a bunch of enchantments, I'm dead. So I wonder if I'm supposed to try to force a win on my turn 3 here. I will cycle Barrenmore, and hopefully I'll hit a creature. I don't. Okay. Don't love that. And now I draw a creature. Let's start off with a Dark Ritual. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. We'll tap the Great Furnace for a red. I will cycle Drannith Healer. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. So now my Songs of the Damned will make 5, but then I drew a Street Wraith, which is the best possible draw there. Cycle that. And now Songs of the Damned makes 6. Cycle Drannith Healer. Play Dark Ritual. Cast Deadly Dispute. Cycle Drannith Healer. We find Reaping the Graves. That's good. Cast Deadly Dispute, Sacrifice. We'll play a Lotus Petal. And I will Deadly Dispute again on the Vault of Whispers. We find a Street Wraith. So now the Songs makes 9. We'll play Songs of the Damned. And now Reaping the Graves for Storm 9. So this will return everything. We'll target Street Wraith, and then everything else. So once again, if you're someone who just skips around a video and doesn't actually watch, the reason that you want to target Street Wraith first is it gives you the most opportunities to find your rituals to keep going, because it doesn't cost mana to cycle. And then why you cycle with all these still in the stack is that you want to be able to draw into Songs of the Damned, and when you draw Songs of the Damned, you have the most number of creatures possible in the graveyard. That is the idea. So we're about to go down to 3 life. We'll find Cabal Ritual. Very good. Cycle this Drannith Healer. We're 50% of the way through the library right now. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands. Cycle Imposing Vantasaur. Cycle Drannith Stinger. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Another Lotus Petal. We'll bring back the Drannith Healer and then cycle that. Cabal Ritual. Certainly welcome here. 23 cards left in deck. Cycle the Horror of the Broken Lands into another Lotus Petal. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands. Cycle Monstrous Carabid. Let's return the final card here. So I can play out my Lotus Petals. We need a Songs of the Damned and a Reaping the Graves. Luckily for us, Rowan's Grim Search is capable of finding both. Let's cycle the Monstrous Carabid. We find Songs. Perfect. We will cast that for 15 glorious mana. And then because we are at 3, I am still allowed to play Rowan's Grim Search with Bargain, going down to 1. We find Reaping the Graves. And I'll just select the Reaping the Graves here. We actually drew another. So now I'll play Reaping the Graves with 10 mana floating with 5 Lotus Petals in play. We'll return everything. Okay, we've selected all of our creatures, and now we're bringing all of our friends back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play out 2 copies of Drannith Stinger, and then 1 Drannith Healer, and then start cycling. Because when you play out 1 healer, you can unlock your ability to cycle these Street Wraiths, and that's something I do care about. So we'll play a Drannith Healer, and then we'll go to this side of my hand, Sick Brags, and then we'll play Drannith Stinger, and now each cycle will deal 2. Cycle Horror of the Broken Lands, I'll gain 1, auto yield to some triggers, and we will eventually close this out. So now I'm at 2, cycle Horror of the Broken Lands, cycle Horror of the... Actually, I just drew another Stinger. We should play that. Okay, now I will cycle another Horror of the Broken Lands. So now all of our cycles will deal 3. We just drew into Songs of the Damned. So now I'll go up to 5 life, and now I can start cycling the Street Wraiths. So the cycle Street Wraith, I'll go down to 4. So basically each Street Wraith costs me 1 life to cycle. Cycle Street Wraith, cycle Monstrous Carabid, and cycle Street Wraith. So that's going to finish out the league. We just missed a 5-0. You could argue that if I was a little more aggressive, we would have gotten the trophy, but Cycle Storm is just so good. Even in the face of main deck graveyard hate with like Nile spell bombs everywhere, if you know what you're doing, this deck is insane. My 5-0 the other night, I faced main deck Nile spell bombs, I faced main deck Raven Charms twice, and just easily played through them. Like, Cycle Storm is just the best Storm deck in Pauper, or combo deck. The Brood Scale deck is the best deck in the format, and it is a combo deck, but this is really a combo deck. The other deck is more like Splinter Twin, but this is more combo-y, and I think it's the best thing at what it does. So that's my point. As for the changes, I liked 11 lands. I liked having 4 Reaping the Graves, 4 Cabal Ritual, 2 Rowan's Grim Search. The Magmakin Artillerist was decent. I enjoyed having it in the deck today. I didn't lose any games wishing that it was an opposing Mantis War, which I think is something that does matter. And then meanwhile, you have the upside of winning on less mana or winning through Prismatic Strands. So I will continue to play this card. In the sideboard, we didn't face any blue decks, so Chitin Gravestalker did not come up. But, you know, I can't control that. It's for blue matchups. If you're looking for the sideboard guide, theapexforum.com/shop. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, by the way. And keep storming. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. After you do that, open up our description where you can find all of our social media networks, including our Discord, where you can discuss today's deck in that Discord with me and tons of other combo masterminds. It's absolutely free to join, and it's certainly worth your while.